Okay, it's April 29th, and this is the first time I have ever seen HAARP being used for beneficial purposes to protect the American public from flooding and tornadoes. We can see this is extremely powerful thunderstorm complex off the Florida Panhandle, and right now there is, at daybreak, before daybreak even, centered about here, a HAARP downburst. We can see the concentric rings of the HAARP downburst smoke ring, which is the roll cloud of dry air. And this is moving contrary to the jet stream. Jet stream is going this way. And this is visible in the other wavelengths as well. For instance, water vapor mode. Oh, I'll go to zoom. So it's dry air that's being pressed down. You can see here that the cloud is being kind of eaten up as the dry air is pressed down. Here's a long wave infrared. It's visible, nicely visible there also. Let me show you on the next rad what this fearsome storm is looking like. Now this dropped 4 inches of rain through Alabama and Georgia last night and killed 11 people with nighttime tornadoes. These storms have been plaguing the American South for 2 days now and have killed something like 30 people so far. So this is real flood and danger to people. So to see HAARP being used to actually attack this most powerful part of the storm is really nice to see. The whole thing is going to be moving this way and then curving to the north. So this could be pretty devastating. So let me stop this and we'll... Okay, here's daybreak. Now, the meteorologists are going to say, oh, well, these are low clouds and the sunlight produces these kind of linear effects. But see, this is happening before daybreak. So you meteorologists who have spent years studying meteorology, tell me, how does this happen before daybreak, right next to a thunderstorm with cloud tops at 40,000 feet? I mean, we can actually see the height here because of the shadow. So let me step through. Okay, we can see it expanding, and then the dry air being pressed down is eating up the clouds. And at one point I'll try and count these rings. I don't think it's really necessary, but maybe like here. Oh, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 rings. Minimum of 16 rings. And remember, my calculations show that when the ionosphere re-radiates the 7 kilohertz pulse, very powerful, the spacing should be about 27 miles on 7 kilohertz. And that's probably about right there. Also, just in visible light, we can kind of get the impression of a circle here. Let me go to shortwave infrared. Oh, zoom too far. Okay, yeah, I guess in long wave infrared we see a little bit better of the circle. And this dark area is just sand, so don't pay attention to that. But this is the first time I've ever seen HAARP being used for the benefit of the American people. And I think the American people would not mind paying for a program that can protect them from these kind of deadly tornadoes and terrible flooding. But as far as the rest of the HAARP use, creating drought in California, and the chemtrails poisoning everybody and everything, killing the bees and everything. I really think that that needs congressional oversight. It needs a hearing. It needs to be done out in the open. But to you officers who are trying to protect the American public from more killer tornadoes and flooding, well, the blessings to you, sir. That's a great thing to do. And let me just show you the jet stream real quick so that no one can say, oh, that's some high pressure in the jet stream, because it's not. This is a 300 millibar, so this is very high up, and you'll notice it's just moving east. Nothing weird there. Let's see. Okay, well, here's the surface jet stream, sea level pressure, and we can see just a bunch of light south wind and a little bit of confusion because the computer is trying to figure out what's going on right there, but still it's just a light south wind. Nothing weird here. If there was a big surface high, which is impossible next to this low pressure, but if there was a high pressure there, then we could say, oh, well, some quirk. But there's nothing that can create those rings and that dry air. That is a Haarp downburst attack. Okay, so we know it's not the jet stream. That means it's man-made. It occurs before daybreak. You know, and actually these first few frames, we can kind of see, wow, look, you can see right here, it's just, we can see the eastern curve to the east here, right here. Look at that. And those actually match, so that means that puts the center right here. Back up a little. Yeah, I mean, we can see, here's the eastern, and the spacing matches. Look at that. That spacing is really close. Really close. Matches the spacing here. That means this edge is, the center is right at the edge of the massive thunderstorm complex. And see, that makes sense because Mother Nature has so much power here. So much energy that even 3 billion watts is nothing. So all they can do is nibble away at the edge, which is exactly what they're doing right here. So, you know, 11 people died so far as known last night in tornadoes. And this appears to be actually being used to benefit and protect the American public. First time I've ever seen this. Generally, this thing is being used to make drought in California and Texas. I mean every single day, 5 times a day. Now, this actually points out also that there has to be a Caribbean Haarp transmitter. Because, believe me, this is a lot of power. And I would think this has to be, you know, the Pacific Haarp is too far. And at daybreak, they do not have the ionospheric conduit set up, according to my studies. I'm not an expert in this, just an observer. So I think we are going to have to, they're revealing the presence of a Haarp in Jamaica, Yucatan Peninsula, maybe in the Bahamas somewhere. It's known that down in Puerto Rico, there's a Haarp transmitter, 200 megawatts so far, but frankly I think that's too far distant. The one on the west coast is actually closer than Puerto Rico. So I still think Jamaica, maybe even Haiti or Dominican Republic has a big Haarp transmitter. And I mean a Gakona style transmitter. Okay, I hope that's interesting to you. It certainly is interesting to me. It certainly is quite amazing. But even with all this power and hundreds of billions of dollars spent, Mother Nature trumps us 100-fold. So you meteorologists who can explain all these weird cloud patterns, please leave a comment, because if you can show my errors, I am more than happy to admit that I'm wrong, that you know more than me. But I do not think that in any circumstance this can be explained as a natural effect. Another characteristic of the Haarp downflow smoke ring is that as it gets farther from the center, it gets more diffuse and you can't really see it anymore. So I don't expect that we're going to see any more of this today. As it spreads out, the effect is just not really visible clearly anymore. It's subtle, but to have proof and be able to count the rings, that doesn't happen. Okay, thanks for watching.